Okay, looking at the stack of research you've sent over for today's deep dive, I feel like we're looking at, I don't know, 3 different cities mashed into one.
Right.
I'm seeing notes about this massive ancient empire. Then I'm seeing details about a global meditation resort that attracts thousands. And then right next to that, I'm seeing a guide to microbreweries and like underground music gigs.
It does feel a bit disjointed at first glance, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
But that is really the magic of the city we're covering today. We were talking about Pune, India. And you're right, it often feels like a city with a split personality.
Or a triple personality.
At least, yeah. I mean, depending on who you speak to, Pune is the Oxford of the East, or it's the Queen of the Deccan, or for the younger crowd, it's just the ultimate party destination when, neighboring Mumbai gets a bit too intense.
And that's our mission today, right? To unpack how one place can be the traditional sort of conservative heart of Maratha history, and simultaneously this ultra-modern liberal hub for IT and nightlife. We've got travel guides from Wikivoyage and Thrilophilia. We have the 2026 cultural calendars from the Indian Express, and some pretty dense heritage listings, too.
We have plenty to cover.
Yeah.
And I think the key to understanding Pune is to realize that it's not a melting pot where everything dissolves into one gray goo. It's more like a layered cake.
Okay, I like that.
The layers, the history, the spirituality, the student culture, they sit right on top of each other. Totally distinct, but somehow connected.
I like that analogy. So let's slice into that bottom layer, the history, because looking at these photos of Shanwarwada, this doesn't look like just some old building. It looks like a fortress prepared for the apocalypse.
It essentially was. Shanwarwada is the anchor of the city. To understand it, you have to understand the Peshwas.
Now, I've seen that term Peshwa in the notes. For those of us who aren't experts in Indian history, who exactly were they? Were they the kings?
Not exactly, and that's an important distinction. The king, or the Chhatrapati, he sat on the throne, but the Peshwas were the prime ministers.
Oh.
But during the 18th century, they became the de facto rulers. You can think of it like the shogunate in Japan. They held a real military and administrative power. And Shanwarwada, built in 1732, was their seat of power.
Okay, so this was their White House and the Pentagon combined.
A very apt comparison. And the man who built it, Bajirawani, he was just an incredibly ambitious figure.
Yeah.
You could see that ambition in the architecture itself. Did you notice the main gate in the photos?
Yeah, the huge stone archway.
It's called the Delhi Darwaza, or Delhi Gate. Now, usually in medieval India, you'd name the gate after the city it led to. But for a fort in Pune to have a gate facing north towards Delhi, that was a massive political statement.
Why? Because Delhi was just north.
Because Delhi was the capital of the Mughal Empire, their rival superpower at the time. So by building his main gate to face them, Baji Rao was literally signaling, I am coming for you. It was an architectural challenge.
That is some serious confidence. I'm building my front door to face my enemies.
And he backed it up. But the gate wasn't just symbolic. If you look closely at the wooden doors in those high-res images, tell me what you see.
I'm looking at, wow, are those spikes? They look like giant metal nails sticking out of the wood.
They are. Long, sharp steel spikes. 72 of them arranged in a grid.
What are they for? To stop people from banging on the door?
They're anti-elephant measures.
Come on, anti-elephant.
I am completely serious. In 18th century warfare, war elephants were the Panks. If you wanted to breach a fort, you would get a massive elephant, get it enraged, and have it ram the gate head first to shatter the wood.
That is a terrifying image.
It is. But those spikes were positioned at the exact height of an elephant's forehead. So if an elephant charged, well, it wouldn't end well for the elephant.
Brutal.
Brutal, but really effective engineering.
It's fascinating how much violence is just built into the design. But the notes also mention a fountain inside, the Fountain of 1,000 Jets. That sounds a lot more peaceful.
The Hazare Karanje. It was a marvel. It was shaped like a 16-petal lotus. We have records from British visitors and local historians describing the sheer complexity of the plumbing. It was designed to impress visitors with the Peshwa's wealth and sophistication.
Right.
But, and this is the sad part, you can't see it today.
Because of the fire. Right. I read about this. It wasn't just some small kitchen fire.
No. In 1828, a fire broke out that raged for 7 days.
7 days? How does a building burn for a week?
Because it was massive and largely made of this intricate teak woodwork. The fire gutted everything. It destroyed 7 stories of palaces, audience halls, art. What you see today, the stone base and the outer walls, is just the skeleton. The flesh is gone.
That is tragic. Just a stone shell left?
It is. But the locals believe something else was left behind. You cannot talk about Shanwarwada without the ghost story.
I was waiting for this. Every old castle needs a ghost. But this one seemed oddly specific in the research. Something about a distinct phrase people hear.
Yes. It dates back to 1773. There was a young Peshwa named Narayan Rao. He was only, 18 years old.
A teenager.
And he was the victim of a palace coup orchestrated by his own uncle and aunt. The legend says he was chased through the corridors of the palace by assassins. As he ran, he was screaming for his uncle to help him, not realizing the uncle had signed his death warrant.
Oh, that is dark.
The phrase is Kaka Malava Chava,
Which means...
Uncle, save me. The legend says that on full moon nights, the locals can still hear a young boy's voice shrieking that phrase from inside the ruins.
Uncle, save me. That is so much worse than just a rattling chain or a generic woo. It's a replay of a betrayal.
It anchors the site in tragedy. So you have this place in the middle of the city that represents the absolute peak of Maratha military power, but also its most shameful internal collapse.
It's a heavy place to start our tour. So let's step out of the 18th century, because the source material says Pune is also known as the Oxford of the East. How do we go from war elephants to Oxford?
We fast forward to the British era and post-independence. Pune became a hub for education. You have Savitribai Phule Pune University, Ferguson College, the Film and Television Institute of India. I mean, the sheer density of colleges here is higher than almost anywhere else in the country.
And I guess that explains the demographic you mentioned earlier. If you have that many colleges, you have a permanent population of 20-somethings.
Precisely. And that constant influx of youth keeps the city from becoming a museum. It creates a very liberal, artsy vibe. In fact, speaking of arts, the 2026 cultural calendar you mentioned is packed.
Yeah, I saw the PIFF listed the Pune International Film Festival. It's happening in January 2026.
Mid-January. And PIF is a big deal. They received over 900 submissions from 103 countries for the upcoming season. But what stood out to me in the 2026 notes is the specific theme. They're celebrating the birth centenary of Guru Dutt.
I know that name. He's classic cinema, right? Black and white era.
He is arguably the most soulful filmmaker India ever produced. I mean, think of him as the Van Gogh of Indian cinema tragic, misunderstood in his time, making these brooding, artistic masterpieces about sorrow and society.
So you've got a film festival celebrating a tragic genius taking place in a city full of film students. That sounds like a perfect match.
It's the intellectual highlight of the year. But if you prefer live performance, there's the Sawai Gandharva Bhimsen Mahotsav.
That is a mouthful.
It is the Woodstock of Indian classical music.
Woodstock, that implies mud and camping.
Well, replace the mud with dusty grounds and the rock music with ragas. But the devotion is the same. People, thousands of them, sit on the ground for hours, sometimes all night, in the winter cold, just listening to the masters perform.
Wow.
The 2026 lineup mentions disciples from the Gurana Gurana. It's not just entertainment, it's a ritual.
It sounds intense. But let's say I'm not into classical music or film history. Let's say I just want to escape. The outline mentions Osho. I feel like everyone knows the name Osho because of that Netflix documentary, Wild Wild Country, but I didn't realize his massive ashram is right here in Pune.
Is the elephant in the room.